You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. The Options Insider Radio Network is sponsored by Fidelity Investments. Fidelity's Option Trade Builder tool can help you confidently build an options trade in 3 simple steps. Just choose a strategy, select a contract, and then review the benefits and risks of the trade. Learn more about Option Trade Builder at fidelity.com/options. Options trading entails significant risk and is not appropriate for all investors. Certain complex option strategies carry additional risk. Before trading options, contact Fidelity Investments by calling 800-544-5115 to receive a copy of the characteristics and risks of standardized options. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the option block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tosaw from RCM Asset Management, Andrew the Rock Lobster Joe Vanazzi from OptionPit.com, and Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com. And now, get ready to hit the option block.
All right, everybody. That tune means it's time to rock out with what we believe is indeed the sexiest bi-weekly options show on the planet. If you can find another one that's sexier, I dare you to let us know about it. Welcome indeed to the option block. Starting off the week kind of silly, because why not? It's fun. My name is Mark Longo from the old OptionsInsider.com, as well as, of course, on the old network. You guys know the drill by now. Hit us up. TheOptionsInsider.com is the place to go for all the streaming and the content. If you guys are having issues accessing it, let us know. There have been some people reporting sporadic stuff because we're working on the new site. You know, the gremlins, whenever you work on the new site, the old site knows about it and hears about it and it decides it wants to cause problems. Say, hey, me too, I'm still here. So we're working on all that fun stuff. So if you have questions, let us know. Meanwhile, keep your eyes glued for the new brand spanking new Options Insider. I should say the OptionsInsider.com. Coming to a keyboard and mouse near you very soon. In the meantime, you can still get us via all the old platforms. Mixlr is a place to go live every Monday and Thursday, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, or you can hit us up on all the different platforms, your iTunes, your TuneIns, your Stitchers, your Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. Whatever you use, we don't judge. I like Pocket Cast. A lot of you seem to be getting on the Pocket Cast bandwagon too, looking at the numbers. But hey, to each their own. Grab our mobile app that also works all the time, anywhere, day or night, for all of our shows, including our deep archive. So the app is the place to go to really go deep. And of course, however you listen, live after the fact, hit us up. Questions, comments, insights, pearls of wisdom. Play along on our polls, add options. That's what makes things fun. And we do love hearing from you guys. And joining me on the program today, let's see who we got. Let's spin the old option block all-star wheel. First, the knife lands very close to the shores of Maine, where we are joined by the one-eyed rock lobster himself, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. Mr. G, welcome back to the show. How go things in this holiday season in Maine, sir?
It's snowing. It's snowing. It looks pretty good.
That's appropriately seasonal, I would say. Snowing in Maine this time of year.
It is.
In July, not so much, but in December, it's okay.
It is. I got to throw on the hot skates last week, so I was happy about that. But for whatever reason, I can't make them work as well as my kids can make them.
Hot skates, this is the thing. You heat up skates?
Well, you heat them up, when you buy them, you heat them up, and then you put them on your feet, and they fit.
Oh.
And then you walk around, and then they kind of mold to your feet.
Ah, see, I learn every time I talk to you. I learn, lathes and woodworking or hot skates, all these things that are, let's say, outside of my purview here in downtown Chicago. The things we don't get to experience on a regular, the lobster pits, lobster traps, all the many things you get to enjoy on a regular basis over there in Maine. You who single-handedly have made Maine the #1 overall options destination for the U.S., according to Google. You're talking to the man. You wield a lot of power up there, so I'm not sure if you know. Just every search, every keystroke you make just drives Maine further up the rankings. So keep it up. You should be getting your certificate from the governor any day now saying thank you. We need an Andrew G. Day up there in Maine because you're getting them on the map.
I was going to put a shingle out on my dirt road. Hey, this is, option pit. Chief operating officer lives here.
Yes.
I don't think anybody will find it, though.
We make Maine an options destination almost single-handedly. So you could take that credit. You should get a little certificate, maybe a little medal from Google in the mail saying, hey, you, sir, are driving all that love. If you want love, want to learn about options, optionpit.com, the place to go. Meanwhile, let's turn our attention. If you want someone maybe to roll some puts for you, maybe to coddle your head as you sleep easily at night. He doesn't. He's up. He's worried about the markets. You don't have to be. He's Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management. Uncle Mike, welcome back to the show as well. Is that a service you offer? Will you go to your clients' houses at night and gently rock them to sleep while you worry about the overnight markets?
Anytime. And on top of that, I just want to say what an honor it is to say that I'm a co-host on the sexiest options show on the web.
It is dead sexy. I don't think anyone could argue with that, particularly because his audio makes it a lot better. All right, let's keep on rolling right on into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Trading Block. Another week, another bit of spookage for the market out of Washington. And I was joking before the show, there's all these things you analyze in your brief 10 seconds you have to do your analysis at the end of the crystal ball segment for volatility views. Talk about a bunch of stuff. One thing I may have left out of my analysis this week was the potential for shutting down the market, which seems to be looming over everything today. Trump and the House and Senate Dems come into a bit of a loggerheads over this one. This is one of his core campaign promises, after all, so he's going to dig in his heels on this one. And we're seeing the markets, if it's not a trade war, it's a looming shutdown, it's something. We were all saying back when he got elected, Trump, one thing you could probably reasonably be certain of is that he's not a single-digit VIX president. Lo and behold, for all of 2017, he was. He drove the VIX to plummet's depths that it hadn't seen in quite some time. This year, he decided to pull the opposite switcheroo. And whenever VIX started to get a little bit complacent, whenever vol started to wind down, whenever realized vol started to get a little bit relaxed, bam, another shot in the arm in form of another Twitter assault on something out there or stirring up the pot. Trade war, domestic politics, whatever it may be, something just to keep the volatility flames stoking. So if you're a vol bull this year, you should be sending Washington and Mr. Trump a Christmas card because he's been almost single-handedly delivering the vol for you this year. And again, we're seeing that again today. Most of the major indices off around 0.75%. S&P actually exactly at that level. Dow off a little bit more. NASDAQ off a little bit less, but all of them pretty much lurking in that neighborhood. And that means our old friend, ye old VIX cash, is hovering on the upside, up about, not quite 2 handles, 1.8 handles, right around the 23 half level. Let's see, how high did we get intraday? 2366. Actually, 2370. So we're flirting with those highs for the day here. We're seeing a nice little lift here to vol. And again, send your Christmas cards. Care of the White House for all your vol bulls. Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you, sir. What is on your radar today, sir?
Well, it's kind of weird. We're in bizarro world. I have a good connection, but I pulled a mute button, and Andrew has a bad connection, but didn't have the mute button. Crazy
Everyone
times,
is conspiring. Everyone is conspiring against me, is what you're saying.
Pretty much. I think that in looking at the trade war is the big news of the day, and that's going to continue to be the big news of this market. I agree with Andrew along that front, but I think it's going to come to an end sooner than later, or sooner rather than later. Reason being is that I think that, granted, the wall was a big campaign promise from Trump. However, if I'm looking at this like Trump is, a lot of times in his negotiations, he always asks for something that's way more than what he's willing to settle for. And with the wall, I'm willing to bet that he will settle on not getting the wall. He'll want some type of tough immigration policy or some type of tough border security or something along those lines. But I have a theory that he will give in on the wall. And the reason is that for those people that voted for Trump, a lot of them, I don't really see them swinging to the Democratic side if they don't get a wall. If they get tough border security or something along those lines, I think they would take it. So I think this is one to where he would be willing to compromise, especially from the standpoint that if he's winning the trade war in China, if he's getting some of the other things that he wants for what a lot of the people who voted for him want, then I think that it's something to where we could come to an agreement. And with the government shutting down, politicians typically don't like that, especially right before Christmas. And I don't know if necessarily the shutdown, I don't know if that's really going to make that big of a difference. All the shutdowns I've been through, I would have never noticed them unless I was looking at the marketplace. But the shutdown itself, just because I think it's just bad politics, especially with the new Democratic Congress coming in January, I really do think they're going to have some type of an 11th hour deal. But ultimately, I think that, like Andrew said, until we get some type of deal in China and we get everything settled with this wall issue, I think it's going to be a tough market at this point for the bulls. But once that's settled, those things are very, very able to be settled quickly. And once they are settled, I think there's a lot of reason for upside. But until then, I would remain cautious.
Speaking of cautious, I'm always cautious about the Rock Lobsters connection. Mr. Rock Lobsters, test you out now. Can you hear me, sir? How you doing? Test 1, 2.
I can hear you very well. How about me?
Oh, you sound much better now, yes. So whatever you were doing over there before, do not do that again.
Crystal clear. By the way, how does that Freedom Caucus think now that, now you got no wall, you got no deal, you got no nothing. They had something, and now they got nothing. Now they're still fighting over it. I don't know. I find it, those guys needed to check in on themselves. They're like, oh, we got a whole lot less than we could have had. Oh, go us. We're awesome. So just another note for politicians not having some kind of compromise in them to get something done. But anyway, I digress.
Spoken as the diehard libertarian. That you are, sir, over the cynical libertarian out there. You want them all just at loggerheads over there. But let's see what was lighting up. Not a huge rock'em sock'em day on the markets today. SPY hitting them a little, coming into show times. This is a little bit more on the tape now, but coming into showtime was about 2.1 million contracts. ADV a little bit shy of 3.5 million out there in SPY land. VIX was hovering about 326,000, which is a little bit more than half of their ADV, which is about 603,000 contracts. And in terms of what's out there, in terms of most active right now on the tape, we're seeing our old friend Apple dominating the top 10 yet again, 270,000 contracts on the tape right now. The ADV is nearly 700,000, so it's just a blip on the radar today. Bank of America, number 2, at about 230,000. We fall off a bit to Ford. Ford climb up number 3, showing how light of a day it is. Only 150,000 contracts on the tape for Ford, number 3. Number 4, Amazon, 133,000. AMD, 133,000. Number 5, Amazon, 127,000, hot on its heels. Then we got GE, number 6, $124. Tesla, number 7, 109. Microsoft, number 8, also tied with 109. Number 9, Micron, 107,000. And round out the top 10, our old friend NVIDIA with 101,000 contracts. And speaking of contracts, let's do a real quick hit in. Our friends over there at OCC, the Options Clearing Corp, announcing this morning that's been a big talking point this year. Our friends, the Flowmaster and others, have been beating that drum. Will they make 5 billion contracts? Will they make 5 billion contracts in 2018? Well, spoiler alert is yes, but maybe not quite the total you're thinking of. The number, they hit it this morning and put out a release saying OCC, of course, the Options Clearing Corp, has reached 5 billion contracts for the first time in its history. Actually, 5.01 billion contracts as of this morning. Now, that's total cleared volume. Remember, listen, they clear a bunch of stuff. They'd clear futures and other things over there. If you're getting into the actual options, listed options contracts, we're still shy of that. We're 4.91 billion contracts. So hopefully with about 10 more trading days in the year, we'll maybe be able to hit that from an options perspective as well. The previous records were 4.6 billion total contracts and about 4.56 billion options contracts set all the way back in 2011. So it's been 7 years since we've set a new real volume record in the option space. That shows kind of how the industry has kind of plateaued in recent years, but hopefully now getting on a bit of an upswing. We kind of hit that new gear in February with the VIX-ocalypse, and we never really looked back. The volume's been kind of hot and heavy ever since then. A lot of that, again, maybe OCC should send a Christmas card down to Washington. A lot of that coming courtesy of our commander-in-chief there, but still interesting stuff to behold there. Overall, let's see, so far in 2018, OCC ADV has cleared 20.7 million options and futures contracts per day. That's 20.5% higher than its record of from 2011 from 2017. It's 20.5% higher. That's 17.2 million was the ADV for last year, and 13.8% higher than their previous record ADV, which was 18.2 million, set again back in 2011. So impressive numbers for this year. We'll see if we can do it again next year without, hopefully without needing some sort of VIX-ocalypse or other madness to drive it. But we shall see. Meanwhile, it's time for us to keep on rolling and see what we got up our sleeves. It is time to head on into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
Okay, everybody, let's get wild, let's get crazy. It's time for the old Odd Block, the portion of the show where we break down what's weird, what's wild, what's wondrous, what's whimsical, all the W words and adjectives you could think of in the land of options. We like to kick things off with our old friend, Mr. Tesla. Let's see how we're doing today. Tesla, not exactly in the green today, off in the red. Let's see, about 7 handles, almost exactly, hovering right around 358.67 or so, off nearly 2% on the day. So not exactly a banner day here for Tesla. They had, looks like, about a 3.5 handle range out there. Got as high as about 365.70. Then got, so actually no more than that, because they're down 358 now. So, actually almost a 10, actually over a 10 handle range today, so they got down to 355 intraday. So interesting stuff out there in Tesla land. Let's see if the puts are lighting it up again today. Jampar puts lighting it up, 3,250 of those, crushing the bid for 9 cents out there. So maybe some people getting the heck out of Dodge on some of these downside puts. Also, the Jampar puts have been lighting up 3,000 again at a clip, also for 9 cents. So that's a total of 6,200 going up right there, all for 9 cents. So maybe some folks deciding to get the heck out of Dodge. March 50 puts lighting it up nearly 1,000 times for 37 cents. Those are on the offer. So maybe some folks looking to scramble for a little bit of protection. The Jan 2020 10 puts also active, 750 on the tape for 28 cents. So those of you who are perhaps thinking the 10 line was the place to be in Jan, maybe get another year out of it, going out to Jan 2020 instead. Another 500. A lot of the par puts are where the action is today. I'll have to see if I can dig up a total for you. For some reason, when I hit that, let me try this instead. Whenever I hit that within that scan, it does not want to give me the total information. So let's see if I just type it in directly instead, if it will play more ball with me. There we go. All right, let's try that here instead. Let's go to option. There we go. How many do we have? That's not telling me what I need to know either. Let's see. Let's go to this one instead. And let's see how many we have on the tape as of right now. Let's see, listeners. Oh, of course it's going slow right now. Here we go. Life to date flow history. That's what we want. And we've got a bunch hitting the tape. Let's see, coming in. We saw this earlier this week. We saw about 7,500 going up on the 13th or last week, I should say, going up on the 13th of December, where the OI was a little bit shy of 50,000, 49,000, I should say, and change. lighting it up there today. And today, of course, it's just on fire here. Let's see. Give me the contract history now. Still not wanting to do it. All right, we'll dig it up a little bit later. For some reason, not wanting to play with me. OI 51,000 today. Today's volume is total. Can't get that. Maybe Mr. Rock Lobster. Mr. Rock Lobster, are you seeing the total of how many the Jam Park puts in Tesla are lighting up right now, sir?
I can find that for you right now because I'm just looking at VIX tick up and up and up and up.
What fun is that? Let's look at Tesla puts instead.
And will those futures ever follow? The Jan Par puts 2019?
Yeah, yes.
I'm seeing. Oh wow, there is not a whole lot. There's 51,000 open, and 155 contracts are bristling at around 6 or 9 cents.
That's weird because I'm seeing a bunch of printing here on my thing. So maybe I'm getting weird aberrant prints here. But we'll dig into that in a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, Jan 100s. No, I'm only seeing a few puts trade today. I mean, the Flowmaster would be coming in with big puts. I just think those are. I think we need to move to 2020. That's what we need to do.
We should be.
Tesla.
I'm looking here. Yeah, 3,250 of the Jan Par puts going up for 9 cents. Another block for 3,000 for 9 cents. Are you telling me they're showing me lies, sir?
I'm looking at. I am not seeing that volume, but I believe you if you believe it.
No, I'm gonna have to have a chat with our friend the Flowmaster, see what his custom design scans for our show are revealing to us.
Why don't you go buy some real time data?
Yeah, there we go. I should just buy mega blocks of data because I'm not buying enough nonsense here to keep these shows flowing for the people out here. I don't know. Obviously, maybe they configured this scan differently. Let's see. Oh, you know what? They're giving me the data from the 10th to the 14th. That's not what I want. Good grief. Everything is conspiring against me here, listeners. Let's keep on rolling. Why did they give me a summary for the test? That's not what I want. That's not what I typed in. All right, let's keep the ball rolling. So believe the Rock Lobster, not lighting it up. Last week they were. This week, not so much. Let's instead keep on rolling into what, this is what's fun about the live stuff, Mr. Rock Lobster. People can see, they see how the sausage is made. And sometimes it's delicious. Sometimes it makes you regurgitate a little bit. Let's see if we'll keep the ball rolling here. Some new names on the odd block today, which is always nice. We're going to kick things off with Old National Bank Corp, ticker symbol ONB. Trading today pretty much 1636, pretty much unched on the day, up about, looks like about 7 cents or so. Not a huge run here for good old ONB. And it shows kind of how quiet it is. We had a hard time finding 3 good scans to really make the show here today, listeners. Let's see. ONB today, that's one of the big prints of the day, actually, which shows you what's going on. It was the June 20 calls going up for a whopping 20 cents, listeners, doing that trace 1,000 times. This is opening over there on the Amex, kind of, let's see, there's this is one of the names they talk about when they talk about the liquidity issue and how the quotes are maybe not exactly the best advertisement for the option space right now. Because guess what the market was on these June 20 calls going out, Mr. Rock Lobster, when this trade went up.
I'm looking at this OMB. Like, this is definitely one of I'm thinking and this is what I'm trying to talk to clients about, and probably what we'll do our Options Made Easy course on. But you got to look. It's really hard to look short term right now. You got to look kind of long term, understand what's going to happen with the vol, all that kind of stuff. But I think there's opportunities out there somewhere in the volatility space, or in just the option space in general. And
you like this opportunity. You like this opportunity then, because these calls were no bid at 65 cents coming out.
Exactly.
So pick them. So these went up for 20 cents. They found a bid for 20 cents for these bad boys, and they hit it 3,000 times. If a broker comes back to you with that market, no bid at 65 cents, are you just going to hang up the phone on them? Say, get the hell out of here.
I guess somehow somebody found a 20-cent bid for them. And I guess at some point, 20 cents actually doesn't look too bad. But you're looking out to June. I mean, this underlying was kind of trading somewhere around there at some point, So I don't think it's a terrible, a terrible price to pay for these things. But I mean, the stock could make the move, and you could see, it was trading $20 only, a couple of, middle of September. So I think writing them for 20 cents, are they searching for yield that bad? That's my question.
It's like they wanted this park some cash for 6 months, and they just that was their place. I guess how nice would it have been if this kind of speaks to some of the issues with liquidity in the option space. Even though we got a lot of ballot contracts printing, the real market was obviously around 20 cents, but no one was showing that hand. They were showing no bid at 65 because there's a handful of market makers left. You can count them on one hand, and they're not in a rush to get really tight on the June 20 calls in OMB. Go figure. I think 20 sounds pretty cheap to me. Yeah, those are the kind of calls I'd put on my sheets and just ignore them. Yeah, you set them and forget them. You're not going to hedge them, but you're not too worried about it either with this one. So 20 cents. As the Rock Lobster alluded, let's pull up a little chart here and see how OMB has been doing. Good old OMB. And this thing has had a range of over the past year of got down as low as 16.10, which is a little bit shy of where we are right now, and then got as high as nearly 21, as the Rock Lobster alluded to back in September, 2095. So this 20 calls, this 20 strike can come into play, and it has not too long ago, a few months ago. So interesting stuff. Yeah, maybe we got ourselves a little bit of a scoop here, Mr. Rock Lobster. So perhaps you too are intrigued by OMB upside. Just know if you're going to go out there and trade it, they'll fill you somewhere in the middle there. They're just going to spook you with ththose quotes. So be prepared. Maybe you call up with 3,000, they'll make you a nice tight market. But you could trade them somewhere in the middle of that no bid. That's 65. That's an offensive market. That to me is just the old school market maker in me just recoils at nonsense like that. All right, let's keep rolling before I get too angry. Let's go on to another name here. That's a newcomer, I believe, to the odd block. Let's see. Oh, yeah, we talked about them before. It's been a while. This is Carlyle Group, ticker symbol 16. What this company does, it kind of depends on where you fall, I think, on the ideological spectrum. You can think either they're just a PE firm, an asset management, or they could be, the Illuminati who controls the earth. I guess it depends on your point of view. They're trading today $16.06, off about 22 cents, or about almost 1.5% out here in good old Carlisle land. And what was lighting it up? Again, kind of showing you how quiet it was today, listeners. When this kind of size comes up high on our screens, it's a quiet day. June, everyone's playing out in June today. The June 17 halves going up. Looks like paper buying these bad boys this time for $1.10. These had a little bit better market. They were one bid at 115, so a little bit tighter than our other friend there. What was that? ONB. So 1,450 of these going up for $1.10. Probably paper buying. You never know for sure. This is opening over there on the Philly. There's obviously a bunch of earnings between now and then, but not really an earnings play. Let's go look at the chart for good old Carlisle, a.k.a. the home of the Illuminati, and see how things have fared over the past year. They got as high, let's see, nearly 26 over the past 52 weeks, 25.90. That was back in very early February. And then go figure, it sold off in February. I wonder what could have happened to cause a sell-off in February, but Carlisle rode that wave down. So much for them controlling the global markets, right? When they got taken out like everybody else. And they got as low as 16, actually pretty much right now is their low, 16.03. So they're pretty much at their 52-week low. They were hovering in the mid-2024 again back in September as well. So they were substantially higher, about 8 handles higher not too long ago here. So this one has felt the heat pretty substantially of late. Perhaps Mr. Meatball, or Mr. Rock Lobster, I should say, why our friend here is deciding to come in and load up on out of the money, but not quite out of the money calls for $1.10. What are you thinking on these? I'm going to think you're going to like maybe a vertical a little bit better, but what do you think on these this naked gobbling up some meaty $1 calls here in Carlisle, sir?
A meaty 17.5 for $1, doesn't?
That's rich.
That doesn't sound very expensive, does it?
It's rich, baby.
Because Carlisle, that's the private equity group, right? These I think are great companies to trade for individual investor when everybody gets, really sour on the economy and they're like, oh man, these private equity guys, rates are going up. They're never going to make any money. And just wait till their stocks are in the total ash can. to me, like dirt cheap, perfect type of leverage. I wouldn't even bother with the upside call on this one. I say you just, if you want to get long.
Oh, you're loving this
like
one. Wow, I thought you'd be much more tentative on this one. Interesting. So you're buying into, you like buying the global dominating Illuminati on the cheap, is what you're telling me.
I do. I know, because I mean, those guys have been right for a long time. So you just have to buy them when everybody hates them.
Do you subscribe to the theory that they pull the puppet strings and make the world dance?
Something like that. But I think this would also be from a Tosaw point of view. This is the kind of leverage I think that Mr. Tosaw gets very happy about, controlling stock that was not very long ago $24. Even their earnings weren't terrible. Gosh knows what they did, but $1 is. I mean, those options are so cheap you could almost buy a strangle, like a 17-15 strangle wouldn't cost very much. You could hold it for 3 months, and the decay would only probably be, 20 cents per side. So
wow,
it's
listen
not
to
a lot
you.
of risk for that much time.
Listen to the forthcoming author of Getting Your Juice for Free, saying not only does he not mind buying these outright, he wants to buy a strangle. He wants to buy 2x.
You can buy 6 months of time for $1. It's almost you can be in the money in a week.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just surprised at your sudden series. Towards the end of the year, holiday time comes in, your diehard cynicism starts to fall. We start to see the real you, which is buy all the juice at any price.
You start buying the juice when nobody knows what the hell is going on. And you just buy it long enough and cheap enough where it doesn't matter. And I think this is like a classic case.
Yeah, you get a bit of a run. You do have a lot of upside on the chart, and you get the global market dominating power of the Illuminati, all for what, $1.10.
You buy the Davos crowd for $1.10.
Yeah, there you go. You bought all of Davos. You bought the Davos basket for 6 months.
I'm sure we're going to get some lefties in the stream or going to hurl insults at us, but I don't think it's a bad purchase.
You don't have to be any political persuasion to feel about these guys. You could be all across the board. Lefties hate them. Righties think they're crazy. Who knows? There's all sorts of people. You don't have to be any ideological spectrum to think they're funny. There's how many books are written about this company now. It's kind of funny. It makes for fun stuff, if for nothing else. So the size, not exactly huge, but the price, according to the Rock Lobster at least, the price is right. You may be buying some of these as we speak, listeners. So this is that just shows you how low this is, because he doesn't buy a lot of juice, let alone without doing a vertical or some other leg to it. He's liking the Illuminati calls. Maybe we have a title for our episode here. Let's wrap it up here. A little bit less global conspiratorial here. Just some straight up holiday action. This is actually a review from back in November 15th to be precise. Remember at the time, listeners, we highlighted a big block of puts going up in Macy's. They were the Macy's Nova 30 puts going up for 26 cents. Someone gobbling up the offer 30,000 times, a block of 15,002, then a block of 14,998 to be precise. All done for 26 cents over on the Philly. This was opening, and this is very near term. It's done on the 15th, and these puts expired about a week later on the 23rd. So this was all very near term. Seemed like someone was a wee bit spooked about the near-term downside potential for Macy. So we filed this on our to-be-watched category. And lo and behold, these puts are gone now, obviously, from the 23rd. They have expired. So we can go back and look and see how they fared. At the time, the OI was about 11,000 going into this trade. So they were all opening. And looking at Macy's, this guy's near-term concerns about Macy's taking the plunge shy of the 30 handle in a couple of days never really materialized. He never really had a chance to get out of these for a very attractive level. So you put them on for the 15th. The stock closed that day at 32.27, and it closed on the 23rd, about a week later, for 32.01. In the interim, it got down to as low as about 31.95 or so. So his near-term concerns to the downside never really materialized, and he never really had a chance to get out of these for anything at a better level, let alone even scratching, really. The stock, in fact, as we're looking at it right now, Macy's is about 30.70 or so it still hasn't broken that 30 handle to the downside. So Mr. Rock Lobster, we say it all the time on the show, the size money, not always the smart money. If you saw this on the tape, you'd be like, oh my God, Macy's is falling out of bed, fire sale, get all the downside you can, right? Because somebody knows something about Macy's. Turned out this guy didn't know crap, sir.
And that was a buyer, right? So these weren't the line in the sand putties. These were like real, puts.
Seems like it. If he got someone to pay 26 cents for these 30,000 times when they were offered there, then he's got a great broker, and I want to work with that firm. That's He got someone to pay their own offer 30,000 times. That would be impressive. That would be an analysis for another day. So if that happened, then more power to this guy. I don't think that's the case. I think this guy came in and gobbled up all of them 30,000 times. Imagine calling the broker, the same guy who gave you that no bid of 65 cents on the other one, and said, hey, I want to trade 30,000 of these. I want to trade them on the offer. What can you do for me? But I want to sell them too. Me too. I'm with.
Exactly.
30,000 times in a name that probably trades, 10,000 a day, right? Right. What do you think the answer is going to be to that call?
Yep. No. So this was one again where, buying maybe some cheap protective puts, maybe used it as a trade, the old classic, buy the stock off the bounce, and see what you get. So I think, but at least right now, they look like they've gone out worthless unless they did something really clever against them.
Again, we don't know all the other legs. He could have done it delta neutral. He didn't have a lot of deltas on these. That didn't really save him either. He's losing on the stock now too, because the stock is down if he still has the stock. So he's down on the stock. The puts went out worthless. This was not a winner in any other way I could see. Maybe he was aggressively scalping, but didn't really have a lot to scalp either. There's not a lot of ways I could see this one coming out as a winner, Mr. Rock Lobster. So again, just kind of goes to show you. Again, he could have other positions on. He could have made out on those, obviously. But on the pure options side, if you're just looking at UA all the time and saying, this is my straight up indicator, this guy's thinking Macy's headed for the fire sale, I got to get in on this. Again, a little bit of a caveat emptor here. Just something like keep in mind. Size money, not always a smart money. If you want smart money, we got to go on to our next segment. It is time for the strategy block.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, Mr. Uncle Mike, I have set you up, sir. I have introduced you as the smart money. So now that means you got to deliver. This time of year, people tend to get a little spooked about things called taxes. So I guess we got to do it. It's kind of our yearly check-in on all things taxes when it comes to options, sir. What do you got for our listeners here as we're rounding out 2018?
Well, today I want to talk about 1256 contracts as well as wash sales. First off, let's talk about what a 1256 contract is, just so you're aware of it. 1256 contracts are index options, and they can't certain index options as well as futures options, as well as futures contracts. If you're not sure exactly if the contract you're holding is a 1256 contract or not, you can go to cboe.com or any of the exchange websites, and most of them will be happy to, or most of the spots will be happy to do it, or you can go call 888 options and they'll be happy to help you with that. But primarily index options and futures options, as well as futures contracts, are 1256 contracts. Now, what does that mean? Well, let's say that I buy a call option on Amazon. Amazon is not a 1256 contract. And a week later, I sell that call option for a $100 profit. Well, I'm going to be taxed on that at the short-term rate, the entire $100 that I made. Now, let's say that I bought a call option on SPY, and a week later I sell it for a $100 profit. If that's the case, then 60% of the or $60 or 60% of the profit is going to be taxed at the long-term rate, and 40% will be taxed at the short-term rate. So it can be very advantageous for you if you do trade a 1256 contract. Now, the kicker to a 1256 contract is that they are marked to market at the end of the year. So in other words, let's say that whatever the contract that you're in for SPX, let's say, whatever the closing price is on the last day of trading for this year, it's from a tax standpoint, yes, you'll get the 60/40 tax treatment, but you'll be taxed as if you were to have closed the contract on the last day of trading. And that starts all over again come the first day of trading in 2019. So just keep that in mind as you're making some decisions as to what you're looking to do going into the end of the year if you do trade those contracts. Now, the one caveat of this is that if you're trading them in an IRA, this is totally meaningless because you wouldn't be taxed on anything in an IRA until you take distributions. Now, the next thing I want to mention is the wash sale. The wash sale rule dictates that when you sell a security for a profit, for a loss, you cannot buy it again for another 30 days unless, and if you still want to take the loss on it. So in other words, let's say that I'm down 10% in XYZ stock and I sell it for a loss. Well, I can claim the loss on it as a loss on my taxes. However, I cannot buy it again for another 30 days because they don't want you to just say, oh, I lost money here, here's the loss, and then you buy it right away. It doesn't work that way. You need to take 30 days before you buy it again. Now, can you legally buy it again? Yeah, absolutely. But you cannot claim the loss on it. That's the rule with it. The problem that I have with the wash sale is that if you take a gain on on a stock and then you buy it again after it dips or you just want to buy it again because you had a trading error like I did about 8 or 9 years ago in a certain situation, it doesn't matter. You're still going to pay the gain on it either way. So just keep that in mind with the wash sale rules. And with all that being said, make sure that you have an understanding going into the end of the year as to what you want to do, that not only do you have a trading plan, but you also have a tax plan. And that is the strategy block for today. And back to you, Mark.
You've only done this a few hundred times. You're losing, forgetting how to toss back to me. But, I told people at the top of the show, we're getting sexy. And, it doesn't get sexier than 1256 tax deductions and wash sales. Does it get any sexier than that, Uncle Mike?
I don't see how it possibly could, quite frankly.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to go take a cold shower.
Keep the kids away from the show today, listeners, because, we're getting hardcore here on the show. As we keep on rolling, got a little bit of time. Let's see how sexy your questions are. It is time for the mail block.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the mail block.
All right, everybody. We like to... Cheryl Teague, says the Rockless Outlister. Dating yourself a little bit with those. Do you have any model references from the past, quarter century, perhaps?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Probably not. I'm hard pressed to think of any current models. What's her face? The one who's married to Brady, Giselle. There you go. She's not really a model anymore either, but at least she's within the last decade or so. So there, I got you there. All right, let's keep on rolling into our questions. You guys ask us questions. We ask you guys questions as well. This guy asking me what's my thought on JP Morgan coming into their earnings. That was for last week, A and B. I didn't have any thoughts on it. I don't really watch JP Morgan too well. The options were lighting up a little bit, not a ton from an options perspective. So it wasn't one that really was on our radar there, Mr. Code Life 10 there. So we asked you guys last week. You guys were all fired up about this one. We asked you guys, hey, Apple, everyone's favorite thing to trade, dominates, the most active all the time. A few interesting positions were dominating the OI out there, and in particular, you guys were super excited about the Jan 2020 calls. That was the place where you thought the action was. There we go. Jan 2020. Here we go. That's the data I wanted. Yes. All right. Now my things are starting to work for me. All right. So we asked you guys last week, pretty much a week ago, what were the 4 top hot positions in Apple? Gave you 4 choices: Jan 2020 200s, Jan 250s, Dees 180 puts, Jan par puts. You guys thought with about 39% that it was the Jan 2020 200 calls. I can forgive you for that one because it's a pretty reasonable assumption for Apple. The Jan 2.5 calls getting 20%. The Dees 180 puts, number 2, with 26%. And round out the bottom there was the Jan par puts, only 15%. Turns out that 26% of you were correct. It is the Apple Dees 180 puts. At the time we analyzed it, there was 65,000 open. I'll just give you the top 5 here for Apple. Number 1 was the Apple Dees 180 puts with 65,000. Number 2, the Jan par puts actually with almost 61,000. So Jan par puts actually number 2. You guys didn't give it any love. Then the Dees 180 calls with 57, almost 58,000. So maybe a little bit of some conversion reversal action on the 180 strike as well. Then the Jan 200s with 57, almost 58,000 open there. And then the Jan 250s with 51, almost 52,000. You got to go all the way down to, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 7 for the Jan 2020 200 calls with 43, almost 44,000. So all of those were in the top 10. We didn't mislead you too much. but the number one was the DS 180 puts. Not a ton more than the Jam Par puts, though, which is kind of interesting out there. This week, we asked you a little bit different. Getting a little bit deep, some deep cuts here in the volatility space. We asked you guys, we've had a lot of products we talked about this year on our interview show, on our volatility show, for new volatility debutantes to premiere in 2019. Which of these is most exciting to you? Let's see. We gave you 3 choices. We gave you Spikes, which is the MyAx version that's coming out on SPY options, actually. So if you don't like trading SPX, you don't like all that tasty 1256 stuff Uncle Mac was just talking about, you want to trade a little SPY instead, then Spikes has got you covered. That's supposed to debut. It's got SEC approval already. They need to figure out the underlying. That's supposed to debut next year. So we got Spikes there. We got our old friends, Bob and his team from Demand Derivatives of Voldex fame, now working on Realday / RealVol. So they're still in the realized volatility spectrum. A lot of things lurking from them. Our buddy Scott Nations, who's been on VolViews recently, talking about his Voldex / Skewdex that's coming out of NASDAQ. That's the one where, you remember, listeners, they're taking the old school, pretty much old school VIX, taking the S&P 500 at the money implied vol and shipping out all the skew, which these days might be attractive to you because that's where all the consternation has unfolded around the skew in VIX of late. That's where all the lawsuits are coming from. So maybe you like that idea. Or you're saying, the heck with these new ones. I'm going to stick with what brought me to the dance. I'm going to stick with VIX. Mr. Rock Lobster, we'll start with you, sir. Any one of these debutantes blowing up your skirt, or are you more excited to stay with old school VIX, sir?
I'm going to stay with old school VIX personally. However, I know they've been trying to launch the realized vol product for a long time. I'm just curious to see how that comes out because, there's going to be a lot of discount and a lot of funk with forward volatility and stuff like that in there. So it'll be interesting to see what actually trades and what's actually even remotely liquid. The Spikes could be interesting because they're kind of that's a binary version of the SPY vol. So there certainly could be interesting stuff in all of it. And like anything, I watch the liquidity, and I watch to see if it actually does what it's supposed to do. So I can give it the moniker of any vol product to be reliably crappy. And to see if it actually, does what it's supposed to do. What 99% of the people don't understand trading vol products is there is a nasty lag between how the VIX move and how everything else moves in the vol complex. So anyway, hopefully they'll never fix it because then we wouldn't have an business at Option Pit anymore.
Then all you'd be doing all day is just buying those $1 Illuminati calls all day because that's enough.
Which might be the best vol trade of them all.
That might crush them all here. Looks like this just went live before showtime. Sounds like in the early voting, our buddy Scott Nations is gaming it a little bit. He's taking it, running away. Voldex, Skewdex winning with 56% of the early voting. Again, it just went live a little bit ago. 44% of you saying you stick with the VIX. No love for Realday or Spikes yet. Mr. Uncle Mike, you got any choices left here, or are you going to abstain in the ball game, sir?
I'll abstain, but I do like Andrew's analogy of how he likes things that are reliably crappy. I'm not much of a specific vol trader, although anyone who trades options does trade vol in one way, shape, or form. But just not my game, so I'll stick to the old school VIX.
Sticking with what brought you to the dance. Well, if you guys get on over to @options, make your voices heard. Maybe you have an alternative we didn't think about. So put it in there as well. Again, you only have 4 choices. We didn't go as esoteric as perhaps we could have. So if you got a crazy one you're looking forward to, we didn't include it. Maybe you got something else. Maybe you want to just sling SPY or SPX straddle. So we won't judge you. Let us know over there @options, or you can apply in DM with your alternatives of choice. Many of you already are. So interesting to see what you guys have under your thumb, what you're looking forward to in 2019. Meanwhile, we're going to talk about what we're looking forward to for the rest of the week. It is time to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, let's do it. Let's go around the block. We've got a lingering impasse here in D.C., so that perhaps is top of mind, or perhaps something else. Maybe Rock Lobster is just too excited buying meaty premium to be distracted by anything else. We'll find out. Mr. Uncle Mike, we'll start with you, sir. What's on your radar for the rest of the week until we get back together on Thursday?
The lengthy impasse and the deal with and the trade war with China. I think those are the main things right now. There's times when you just got to kind of wait and see what the politicians do. And I think right now we are prisoner to the politicians at this stage with the markets, and we'll see what happens.
We shall see indeed. Mr. Rock Lobster, if you can pull yourself away from gobbling up all that tasty primo, what's on your radar for the rest of the week?
You know what's funny is I have a saying, only politicians can kill the stock market. And they do, because they're stupid. They're stupid and greedy. And,
the Fed's done a good job in the past a few times.
Problems.
The Fed does its darndest sometimes to contribute to that, shall we say.
The Fed doesn't kill the stock market, though. If anything, they prop it up. So
yes, they do that. But they've been on the other side of that tip a few times, too, in history. If you put the proportion of politicians crushing the stock market, I am with you there. Idiotic policy trumps all else. Yes.
So, yeah, I'm waiting. Fed is the next vol event that's on the calendar. The ding-dongs in Washington to see how they could screw up what was a 3.5% growing economy. I guess it wasn't. It was too good for everybody. Let's go wreck it. So let's go wreck that. Let's go wreck that growing economy. And we'll see what happens. It looks like we're going to limp into the end of the year. 2,700 looks like, oh my gosh, it looks like a long way away. Even though statistically it's only a day and a half move with the VIX at 25, it feels like a long way away. So anyway, that's what I see for this week. Just don't see anything great. I just think you got to take your time frame and go long term.
Maybe as long-term as June 2019, sir, for a little bit of near-term upside in some Carlisle. Is that what you're telling us?
Something like that.
Something like that. You too, listeners, can get on the side of the Illuminati for a mere $1.10. Go for it. Get into it. Get it while the getting's good. Unfortunately, we got to get the heck out of Dodge. Our sexy time here on the option block has drawn to a close. And oh, how sexy it was. Weird downside, weird unusual activity, 1256 deductions, Illuminati calls. We had it all on the show today. But let's go back around the horn, see what everyone's got cooking. Let's start with Uncle Mike. Sir, you're talking sexy. That fox, pretty darn sexy on the website. So you click on it. What happens? What can I expect, sir?
Well, if you just click on it, you can't really, I wouldn't expect very much. But if you want to look further and look for the phone number on the website at stcharleswealth.com, give me a call. If you are looking for a financial advisor who views times like this as ways to regroup and create opportunities instead of using them as opportunities to call clients or actually avoid calls from clients and telling them not to panic and that everything is fine. What's your advisor doing right now? I'm looking for opportunities. And if yours isn't, then give me a call and I'm happy to help you and let you know what I'm looking at.
You got to get on that web designer, sir. You got to make that fox clickable. I've been playing it up now for a better part of a couple of months. People are coming there. They want to click on the fox. They want it to do something. So give them a little surprise for the new year here. Click on the fox. Get on to stcharleswealth.com, listeners. Click on the fox. See what surprises it holds in store for you. You guys should be on your business card. Click on the fox. I like it. All right, and last but not least, Mr. Meatball, when you're not gobbling up upside in weird, esoteric, market-moving names, what's going on in the land of the pit, sir?
We are going to be relaunching our gold class, which is basically what we call an introductory gold class. I will teach it live, 30 minutes a week. We're going to do it quarterly. So that will be, because usually it was kind of pre-recorded, but there was always live for trade strategy, but now we're actually going to do basics live too. So that is coming up, and you're going to see all kinds of deals from Option Pit for the new year, and get some of your option learning on. Thank you for everybody that has subscribed to my Vol newsletter the first year. Really happy with all the subscribers, and I think we're going to have a lot of re-ups. So they seem to like it, and hopefully we'll make it better next year.
Check it out, optionpit.com. Sign up for the man's newsletter. Maybe we'll talk about buying some upside calls. You never know what he's going to talk about in the newsletter. You got to go to optionpit.com to sign up. And on behalf of the Rock Lobster and Uncle Mike and indeed myself, I want to thank all of you for downloading, streaming, subscribing, voting in our polls, and of course for listening live. If you're tuning in live and you want some more stuff on your radar this week until the next time we can get back together, we got you covered. I had mentioned an advisor's option on Friday that got moved till tomorrow. Unfortunately, a lot of moving pieces with that show. A lot of schedules to keep happy. So advisor's option should be coming at you live tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. Probably also have some good interviews hitting the network live tomorrow. So you can listen to the Mixler feed. We'll get you that. Get some more interviews for you on Wednesday. And, of course, good old option block and Twifo on Thursday, and then Bob Views on Friday, and maybe some other stuff smattered in between there as well. You never know. So if you're not following us on Mixlr, do so. You get notified the second we go live with all of our stuff. Or, of course, just get our podcast feed wherever you get your finer podcasts pervade. You can get them all there after the fact as well. And we'll see you next time for more of the Option Block.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.